Hello everyone, I'm Sarah, just your average English teacher living what I thought was going to be a chill, simple life. But life, man, it throws curveballs. Stuff that seems kind of light in novels. Sometimes it hits you and you're forced to face yourself. Figure out how to move on. I want to tell you my story. Not for pity or anything, but as a heads up, a reminder. You know, something that might help someone avoid the scars. This is a story about life, love, and some hard lessons. I hope you can get something out of it, a little understanding, maybe even some of your own thoughts. I'm Sarah, 28 years old, an English teacher in Boston, Massachusetts. Born and raised in a regular family, not rich, but we had enough. My childhood was smooth sailing under a cozy roof. Parents always rooting for me, pushing me to get that education. Since high school, I was dreaming of being a teacher, someone who could inspire, plant those seeds of knowledge and a love for language in students for generations. After graduation, I went for it, enrolled in the Faculty of Education at the University of Massachusetts College. Wasn't just about books. It was a journey of self-discovery, growing and maturing every day, every class, every lecture. It gave me knowledge and helped me lock in my determination for the path I'd chosen. I always pictured myself standing at the front of a classroom, students hanging on my every word. That's what kept me going through the tough times in college. Early 2014, diploma in hand, I officially stepped into the teaching life, proud and ready to share some useful lessons, some literature knowledge with students. I got a job at Liberty High School, a school I always admired. Every step into that school, every tree, every classroom. My heart fluttered like a kid hoping for a future with meaning. First time standing in front of a class, as a guide, a leader. The students, curious and eager, made me feel the weight of I responsibility even more. Liberty High wasn't just a workplace. It was my second home. Every day I got to know my colleagues, learned to tweak my lessons for the students. I always wanted my English lessons to be more than just lessons. I wanted them to be moments where students could find joy, feel empathy in the words, understand more about the world and themselves. This job ain't easy, but I never regretted it. Every day, every class, I felt the little joys, the progress of my students, and the passion for teaching growing inside me. At 28, I married Chris, a guy I always feel lucky to be with. He works in accounting at a big supermarket in the city, 3 years older than me. Chris is mature, dedicated to his job, and loves his family. Something fierce. We met through a friend, and from the jump, I was drawn to his friendly smile and gentle eyes. He's not just my husband, he's someone who always pushes me in my teaching job, a job I know I love. Our married life ain't a perfect picture of wealth, but it's full of laughs and warmth. Peaceful moments. Our little house is on a quiet street not too far from downtown, close enough for me to get to work, but far enough to enjoy the peace after a long day. Every night after work, we'd get together, cook dinner, and share the little things about our day. Those simple nights with Chris, with the warm light in the kitchen, made me feel the meaning of happiness. But I wanted to chip in with the family finances, so I decided to tutor 5 rich kids in the city at night. They're smart but kinda hyper, and tutoring them wasn't just extra cash. It was a challenge for me to get better at teaching. During the day, I was still at Liberty High. After school, I'd go home, have dinner with Chris, and then head to the student's house to tutor in the evening. Usually I'd finish up around 9, sometimes 10 if I had to teach extra. Every night coming home with the streets quiet, I'd feel tired but also proud, 'cause I was helping my family, our life together. Chris always waited up for me, even though he knew I'd be late. His patience and care always made me feel warm and more sure about the simple life I'd chosen. For me, it was a simple but good married life. Every day had moments and values you can't put a price on. That afternoon, September 23rd, was like any other. I finished school and went to the student's place. The room was lit, quiet, books stacked neatly on the table. I walked in. The students greeted me with their usual smiles, the innocent eyes of teenagers. I put my bag down and started the lesson. Everything was normal. I taught. They listened, asking questions now and then. Then in the middle of my lecture, I reached for a piece of chalk, turned around to write on the board. The room went silent, just the chalk scratching on the board. Suddenly, I felt a hand around my waist. My heart jumped, I froze. Everything around me faded out, just my heart pounding in my chest. I turned around and my eyes locked with one of the students. His eyes, usually clear, were now weird, full of something unclear. Before I could react, the other students rushed in, surrounding me. I tried to pull away, but they were strong, holding me tight, no longer like kids, but with the strength of young men. The room spun. The lights dimmed as I was pushed down, unable to fight back. I was stuck between laughter and cold stares, shame and pain washing over me. When it was over, the room was empty and cold. I was alone, body wrecked, spirit crushed. I struggled to my feet, every step heavy like carrying a nightmare. The room felt tight, suffocating, but I had to get up, had to leave, go home, like if I could just walk through that door, everything would be okay. When I got home, I had to stay calm, hiding the mess of emotions inside. Even though I'd been through something huge, I didn't show it. I pushed down the panic and pain. Acting normal, I walked in, forced a smile at Chris like nothing happened. He looked at me with love and care, but I had to hide it all, bury my feelings deep, not let him see my hurt. That night I lay next to him, eyes wide open in the dark, trying to figure out how to forget the dark memories and keep living my life. Next morning I made breakfast like always, quietly looking at Chris, telling myself I had to end it. Not just the tutoring job, but the whole nightmare. When I said I was going to quit tutoring, Chris was a little surprised. He asked why, and I thought of a million answers. But I just sighed, forced a smile, and said I was too tired, wanted to spend more time at home. Chris nodded, gentle, no questions. Just said it was okay. He'd handle things, I didn't have to push myself. I sat there, guilt eating at me, heavy like the night sky. I was trying to hide. His words made me want to cry, but I had to be strong. After talking to Chris, I started calling the parents. I kept it short and professional, said I couldn't tutor anymore for health reasons. Every time they answered, my heart hurt, afraid they'd ask more. But luckily, no one tried to change my mind or push me. Every call that ended felt like another knot tied tight and hidden, pushing it all into the past. From that day on, I never went back to tutoring. Every afternoon, I'd go straight home, sit in my quiet room trying to get back into a routine, try to forget. But the truth was still there, lurking in my mind, never fading, reminding me of a dark place I'd stumbled into and could never really leave. A year went by since that night. I lived my life quietly, carrying memories I tried to bury, but they kept coming back every night, every time I was alone. Married life went on. Chris still loved me, still looked at me with gentle eyes and trusted me completely. But in my heart, I couldn't fully enjoy that peace. Every day I looked at Chris, I felt the pain and guilt like a thorn digging deep, reminding me of the secret I was keeping. Then one day I found out I was pregnant. At first I didn't know what to feel. Was it joy or fear? It's supposed to be the happiest thing in a woman's life, but I was so confused. Doubt crept in. I couldn't be sure if this kid was from the love between me and Chris or from that nightmare. The questions kept spinning in my head. No peace. The months went by, quiet and worried, but hopeful. I prayed every night that the baby would be Chris's, that I could leave the past behind and start over. But I couldn't shake the fear. Always wondering when the truth would come out. I'd stand in front of the mirror looking at my growing belly, feeling like I was carrying a dark secret that could never be erased. Then the day came when I gave birth. Chris held my hand, happy, waiting for the baby, his eyes shining with happiness and pride. When I looked at the little boy in my arms, tears filled my eyes, not sure if it was joy or pain. I saw Chris smiling, happy in his first moments as a dad, but inside me was a heavy confusion. From then on, I knew I'd always have anxiety and regret, always wondering if this was really Chris's kid. As time passed, every time I looked at my little boy, my heart ached. His innocent face, his laughing made me hesitate. I loved him with everything, taking care of him, but deep down that worry was always there, like a dark shadow. There were times when Chris held me and our child, his eyes full of happiness, and I could only hold him back, hide in my tears. I never dared to tell the truth, never dared to risk destroying my family's happiness. Only I knew, and only I carried it. I realized that sometimes silence is the price you pay to protect what you have. I live with regret, but I don't want to lose Chris's love. I don't want to ruin my son's happiness. I want to tell everyone to always be careful and keep clear boundaries at work. Never put yourself in a spot that can cause damage and consequences that can never be undone. There are mistakes that once you make them will haunt you forever, and sometimes those consequences hit not just you, but the people you love. My story is a hard lesson about being careful and keeping those boundaries at work. As a teacher, I used to believe in the work the students, but in a moment of carelessness that trust was broken, leaving me with something painful that I can't easily share. I chose to stay silent, not daring to face what had happened, because I was afraid that my life would be completely turned upside down. Since then, I have lived with a constant mental burden on my shoulders. Looking back, I realized that I trusted too much in the environment around me, in the people I interacted with every day. Setting boundaries and protecting yourself is extremely important, especially in a job that requires close contact with others. The line between my professionalism and trust was broken, and the price I paid was a lasting pain and consequences that I could never have expected. At the same time, this experience also reminded me that sometimes silence is not the best solution to face a great pain. Sometimes we need support. If at that time I sought out family, friends, or even counselors, perhaps I will all not have suffered alone. Perhaps I would have found a way to overcome the obsession and gradually recover mentally. Silence does not make the pain disappear, but only makes it take root deeper, silently destroying parts of my soul. Through this story, I realized that in any situation, caution is always indispensable. No one can predict what will happen, and keeping boundaries and being vigilant is the best way to protect yourself. And most importantly, I've learned not to be afraid to ask for help. There are some traumatic experiences that no one should endure alone. If we just open up, there will always be someone willing to listen and share. Years went by. My son, Liam, was growing up fast. He had Chris's eyes, his smile. Every time I looked at him, I felt a twist of guilt and love. Chris was the best dad, loving us both, never suspecting the shadow hanging over our family. I tried to be the perfect wife, the perfect mom I threw myself into. Liam's school and Chris's career, our little home, but the secret ate at me. I had nightmares, flashbacks. Sometimes I'd wake up in a cold sweat. Chris holding me, asking what's wrong. I'd just say it was a bad dream, nothing to worry about. One day, Liam was about 8 years old. He came home from school with a project, a family tree. He was asking all sorts of questions about our ancestors, where we came from. Chris was excited, pulling out old photo albums, telling stories about his side of the family. But I froze. The questions hit me like a truck. What if Liam started asking questions about himself, about his birth? What if there was a way to find out the truth? The thought terrified me. That night I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, the what-ifs pounding in my head. I knew I couldn't keep living like this. The secret was killing me slowly, but surely I had to tell Chris. I owed him the truth, no matter the cost. The next morning, I waited till after breakfast, after Liam left for school. Chris was getting ready for work. I took a deep breath and said, "Chris, there's something I need to tell you. Something important." He stopped, looked at me, his eyes a little worried. I told him everything. The tutoring, what happened that night, my fears about Liam. It all came pouring out, a dam breaking after years of holding back. Chris listened, his face changing from shock to confusion to hurt. He didn't say a word until I was done. The silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. I was trembling, waiting for him to explode, to yell, to leave. But he didn't. He just sat there, staring at the floor. Finally, he looked up, his eyes full of pain, but also something else. Sadness. He said, "Sarah, I don't know what to say. This is a lot to take in." His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Liam's my son. I love him and I love you." Those words hit me hard. Relief mixed with guilt washed over me. Chris needed time. He was distant for a few weeks, trying to process it all. We didn't fight, but we didn't connect like before. It was like a wall had come up between us. I was scared we wouldn't make it, that I'd ruined everything. But Chris, being the man he is, he worked through it. He went to therapy, talked to friends. He realized that Liam was his son in every way that mattered, and he understood the pain I'd been carrying, the fear that drove my silence. We started talking again, slowly, honestly. It wasn't easy, but we rebuilt our connection stronger this time, built on truth, not secrets. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Liam never found out. We decided to protect him from the truth, to let him grow up knowing only love and security. It was a choice we made together, a choice to protect our family. This experience changed me. It taught me that even the strongest love can be tested, that honesty is always the best policy, even when it's the hardest. And it taught me that forgiveness, both from others and yourself, is the only way to truly move on. Life ain't always a fairy tale, but it can be good even after the bad stuff. You just gotta keep fighting, keep loving, and never give up on hope.